Leeds United are finally top of the league after what has been a very long season so far and an unbeaten 2024. It took a 2-0 win at home against Millwall to go to the top, and I'm going to go through all about the match and ultimately how Leeds United got here from what was 4th place and looking like we were completely out of the promotion race. But first, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Cheers. Anyway, diving into it, we need to talk about Leeds United versus Millwall. It was an absolutely colossal match, and everything happened that could have possibly gone on, and not all of it was very good. Millwall played exactly how we expected. Now, there was a really weird moment that I need to talk about where I got a comment on a YouTube video the other day, and I'm just going to bring it up now. 1 second. Okay, so it is covering my face, but this will cover it. Wrong, we don't play 4-4-2, we play 4-2-3-1. They have played 4-4-2. They've had one red card this season, and yes, the forward line is sparse with Bradshaw and Nisbet out. I don't think we'll win, but it's up to you to break us down. This is the important bit. We don't kick players, as you mentioned at least a dozen times. You hear that, guys? Millwall don't kick players. No, their entire game plan was to commit fouls, break up the game, and kill momentum. And I completely get that. It's the way that some teams like to play, but sometimes you cross the line. And in this case, we have to give a very, very, very special mention to Jake Cooper, who managed to prove himself the king of the shits in this match. Got himself a yellow card early on for fouling Willie Gnonto, sitting on Willie Gnonto, dragging Gnonto down onto him, and then Gnonto retaliated, getting both of them booked. Jake Cooper then proceeded to commit more fouls, to elbow Jorginho Rutter in the face, and to kick Joe Rodon in the chest in the penalty area. None of those were given as fouls. All of them were in plain view of the officials. So, on the topic of the referee, he had an absolute stinker. Now, you can't really do much about a referee when he's having a really bad game, but for context, hello Iris. For context, this is the same referee that earlier in the season sent off Joe Rodon for 2 fouls that weren't yellow cards. The idea of consistency in this match was basically non-existent. Some things would be bookings, other things would barely be fouls, and they would be effectively the same challenge. And he did such a poor job of controlling that aggression from Millwall that they just kept on doing it. And I'm genuinely surprised we got out of that match without any really nasty injuries. But ultimately, we dealt with it in a really effective way. Basically, we just decided to play our own game. Our game of retain the ball, play it around a bit, look for someone to create an opportunity, and then pounce. And ultimately, I think some of the more creative players on the pitch in this one were Gnonto and Somerville. They both caused colossal issues. Gnonto's goal, in which he picked up the ball on the right wing, cuts inside and just uses 2 players as a screen so the goalkeeper can't see where the shot is coming from, was absolutely impeccable. And he put it perfectly into the side of the net, and it was delicious. Loved that goal, and Somerville did his bit as well. Very unlucky to not score a very similar goal on the opposite side. Brilliant save from their goalkeeper, fair enough, but honestly, I think we should have scored more than we did, and we were unlucky that we didn't. Jorginho Rutter was also incredibly creative throughout. He kept doing his thing of, even against a physical back line, he will use his strength to overpower people, and that happened for his 2nd assist of the game, where he held up the man behind him, let the ball run across, turned him, and just pinged it into the back post. Brilliant. Rutter is good at dealing with people that both try and tackle him and the people that stand him off. And it really works. And I love the fact that he is such a fundamental part of our side right now. And I would love to see how it works next season, potentially in the Premier League. And in addition to that, Dan James played his part as well. When I'm saying that Jorginho Rutter fired that ball in, it was to James. And the way that Dan James finished that opportunity, delicious. He didn't just sort of receive it and hit it like anyone normally would. He received the ball and waited. Because the natural rhythm of the game, I'm sorry, you're probably still able to hear the cat meowing at me, but the natural rhythm of the game is one of, you get the ball, you hit it, and everyone knows this, and that's why the goalkeeper and the centre-backs all committed themselves to blocking and diving across James. And he was so composed in that he just received the ball and held it, waited for everyone to overcommit, and then he took his shot. And he scored. 2-0. Fantastic. Brilliant result. And in addition to our attacking football, we had plenty of control at the back as well. And a lot of this control doesn't come from the defence itself. It comes from Gruev and Kamara. Gruev and Kamara are really good at getting the ball and just retaining it, making sure we don't lose possession in the middle of the park. Because, as I mentioned in my preview, what Millwall like to do is they like to play that counter-attacky stuff. They like to play transitional football. And we saw a little bit of that towards the end, but they weren't able to do it throughout the match because Gruev and Kamara would get the ball and retain it and play it off to someone sensible, so we're not losing it directly in front of the back four. Brilliant. Perfect. And in addition to that, in the rare moments that they were able to break through, Ampadu and Rodon were reading the game impeccably. They barely had any significant chances in this match, not only because of Ampadu and Rodon, because they know when to put in a tackle, they know when to intercept, they know basically everything about how to do the game at a high level. But Firpo and Gray did their part as well. From fullback, it can be easy to get drawn up to the top end of the pitch, but Gray was nice and sensible throughout. He didn't overcommit himself to attacks. Firpo, whilst he did that overlapping thing where he cut the ball back from the byline all the time, created a lot of chances today as well. He didn't overcommit himself. He was also back defending exactly when he needed to. There was one moment where their fullback and winger were both going at Firpo, and he just sort of instructed Somerville perfectly to say, right, you cover the fullback as he comes in, I'll go and deal with the winger. And it all just sort of added up. You can tell everyone's communicating really effectively in this unit, and even when they do get a shot, it's not a problem because Meslier is continuing to play really well. Even that one where they were offside and had a header on target, Meslier got across, saved it. They didn't have the ball in the back of our net at all, despite having an unchallenged header at the back post from a set piece, which is normally what we struggle with, but not today. Ultimately, that's gotten us to 10 clean sheets in 13 matches this season. Not this season, this year, 2024, which is huge. It's very telling that we currently have a system that doesn't concede goals and creates and finishes chances at such a consistent rate that we're just going to keep on winning, and I love it. So ultimately, how did we get here? How did we go from that team in December that was really struggling and unable to really be a part of the promotion race to a big transformation that has a side that is first place in the Championship? And whilst Leicester do have a game in hand, it's not the easiest game in hand. And Leicester are wobbling a little bit. First up, I think it's a lot of mental strength. And the biggest example I can pull up here is the match against Leicester. 1-0 down, 15 minutes or so to go, and we're still in the game. We're still creating chances. We're still pushing ourselves as hard as we can. We've not given up and said the game's done. We've kept going at them. Whereas we score and Leicester don't look like they are going to play any major role in the rest of the match. And that is the difference between the two sides. That sort of psychological strength that our team has is fundamental to us being at the top of the division. And in addition to that, we've got that consistency and the quality is shining through. You've got quality players like Somerville and Nonto and James. And even when Somerville isn't at his best, you can still see that he's a quality player. He's still getting chances, even if they're not going in. He had a little bit of a lull for a couple of weeks ago, but you could still tell that he was a quality player. It didn't completely evaporate purely because he wasn't scoring goals. And in addition to that, there is a system around those players helping them to shine. We are playing as a genuine unit. You can tell everyone likes working with everyone else. Everyone is communicating at such a high level that the entire unit knows what it's doing at any given point. There's no miscommunication. Yes, there might occasionally be a stray pass or someone's not made a run, but 99% of the time, that machine is fitting together perfectly, cogs are turning, and we're scoring goals, finishing our chances. And ultimately, with all of this considered, I genuinely think we go up. I think we probably go up as champions at this point because Leicester have shown that they are able to wobble. Ipswich, although they did win 6-0 this weekend, have shown that they do have those little bits of vulnerability to them. Southampton have way too far in my opinion to claw back. But ultimately, I want to know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, both about the season as a whole and the match against Millwall. Like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe. I will see you later. Now it's the international break. I hate international breaks so much. I'm going to try and do daily videos, but Christ, there's nothing to talk about.